Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Storytime with Grandma Kate. It's been a while since I've seen you, so I'm excited to come and share some George and Martha stories with you today. I hope you enjoy them. Hope everybody is having a great day so far and looking forward to some story time. If any of you are familiar with George and Martha, they are two hippos who are the best of friends. And I love reading George and Martha books so much. I actually bought this huge book. It's a compilation or a collection of all of the George and Martha books. So today we're going to be starting with the first book, which of course is simply called George and Martha. If you are a fan of Fox Fest, you'll know that James Marshall was a part of those books. So if you enjoyed Fox Fest, you'll love this too. And I'll put a link to the Fox Fest group of books down below in the description if you're interested in checking them out. So if you have this book at home, you can follow along with me. The kind of humor that's in this book is a little different. It's a little what we call like dry humor. It's not as funny as in the same way that, say, like a cartoon would be. It's a little more subtle. So I hope you enjoy these as much as I enjoy reading them. So we're going to start off with a book called George and Martha. Let me get my bookmark out of there. George and Martha. This is the very first book that James Marshall wrote. This says 5 stories about 2 great friends. Story number 1, split pea soup. Martha was very fond of making split pea soup. Sometimes she made it all day long, pots and pots of split pea soup. Do you like it? I used to love it. I used to make split pea soup. If there was one thing that George was not fond of, it was split pea soup. As a matter of fact, George hated split pea soup more than anything else in the world. But it was so hard to tell Martha. He feels obligated to eat it, like he has to eat it because she's his friend. One day, after George had eaten 10 bowls of Martha's soup, he said to himself, I just can't stand another bowl, not even another spoonful. So, while Martha was out in the kitchen, George carefully poured the rest of his soup into his loafers under the table. Now she will think I've eaten it. But Martha was watching from the kitchen. How do you expect to walk home with your loafers full of split pea soup? She asked George. Oh dear, said George, you saw me. And why didn't you tell me that you hate my split pea soup? I didn't want to hurt your feelings, said George. That's silly, said Martha. Friends should always tell each other the truth. As a matter of fact, I don't like split pea soup very much myself. I only like to make it. And from now on, you'll never have to eat that awful soup again. What a relief, George sighed. Would you like some chocolate chip cookies instead? Asked Martha. Oh, that would be lovely, said George. Then you shall have them, said his friend. That's funny. There's certain foods I like to make. I love to bake, but I can't eat any of the things I bake because I'm allergic to some of the foods that are in them. I love and love and love to bake them. But I'm glad that George and Martha could be honest with each other at the end of that story. Story number 2 is called The Flying Machine. I'm going to be the first of my species to fly, said George. Then why aren't you flying? Asked Martha. It seems to me that you are still on the ground. You are right, said George. I don't seem to be going anywhere at all. Maybe the basket is too heavy, said Martha. Why would it be heavy? Well, George is a hippo, and hippos are heavy, aren't they? They're big animals. Yes, said George, I think you are right again. Maybe if I climb out, the basket will be lighter. But if he climbs out of the basket, what will happen? What do you think? Oh, "Oh dear," cried George, "now what have I done? There goes my flying machine." "That's all right," said Martha. "I would rather have you down here with me." This next chapter is really funny. Story number 3 is called The Tub. It's a short one, but it's a very funny one. George was fond of peeking into windows, which you really should not be doing, actually. One day, he peeked in on Martha, and look what Martha is doing. I would not like that, and neither did Martha. He never did that again. "We are friends," said Martha, "but there is such a thing as privacy." Story number 4, The Mirror. "Oh, I love to look at myself in the mirror," said Martha. Every chance she got, Martha looked at herself in the mirror. Sometimes Martha even woke up during the night to look at herself. "This is fun," she giggled. But George was getting tired of watching Martha look at herself in the mirror. One day, George pasted a silly picture he had drawn of Martha onto the mirror. What a scare it gave Martha. "Oh dear," she cried, "what has happened to me?" "That's what happens when you look at yourself too much in the mirror," said George. "Then I won't ever do it again," said Martha. And she didn't. Let's get this page turned. They're sticky. There we go. And this is the last story. It's called The Tooth. One day, when George was skating to Martha's house, he tripped and fell and broke off his right front tooth, his favorite tooth, too. That hurt. When he got to Martha's, George cried his eyes out. "Oh dear me," he cried, "I look so funny without my favorite tooth." There, said Martha. The next day, George went to the dentist. The dentist replaced George's missing tooth with a lovely gold one. When Martha saw George's lovely new golden tooth, she was very happy. "George," she exclaimed, "you look so handsome and distinguished with your new tooth." Distinguished is like really fancy and like formal looking. And George was happy too. "That's what friends are for," he said. "They always look on the bright side and they always know how to cheer you up. But they also tell you the truth," said Martha with a smile. And that's the end. A long time ago, I knitted a George and a Martha. I knitted 2 hippos for a good friend of mine because he loved the George and Martha books so much. When he was a little boy, I used to read these stories to him. And when I made George, I actually made him with a golden tooth and a white tooth. And I think he has a little hat. I'll have to ask my friend. And I think Martha, I knit a little rose on her head. But anyway, that's the first of the George and Martha books that I'll be reading to you in the upcoming story times. So I look forward to sharing more of these wonderful books about 2 great friends. So until the next time, Lily and Eli and Kobe and Xavier and Faith and Penny and Abby and Sammy and Dylan. I can't remember Dylan's brother's name. Colin. Dylan and Colin. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you at the next story time. Bye-bye.